Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Every now and then, a report crosses our desks. And it's not just another report. It's like, whoa,
Mm.
this is big.
Yeah.
This time, it's all about autonomous vehicles,
Okay.
specifically autonomous taxis, all
Mm.
right?
Right.
But it's not just about, oh, cool, I can hail a cab with my phone. This report from ARK Invest, these are like
Right.
the futurist investors, right?
Yeah.
They're saying this is going to be huge, like world-changing, economy-redefining huge.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to deep dive into their predictions. But more importantly, we're going to unpack why it matters to you. Like, how will this affect your job, your city, your life? So, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Right off the bat, ARK Invest, they just hit you with a zinger. They say autonomous taxis could be a bigger deal for the global economy than the steam engine, than robots, than the internet,
Wow.
all combined.
That's a bold statement.
Right. They actually use the phrase most impactful innovation in history.
Hmm.
So you know they're serious.
Yeah.
And they're basing this on, get this, a potential 2 to 3% annual increase in global GDP thanks to these self-driving cabs.
Okay, so for our listeners who don't have economics degrees, GDP, that's gross domestic product, right? It's basically the value of everything a country produces in a year.
Right, the whole economic pie.
Exactly. So a 2-3% annual bump, that's huge. Like hitting the fast forward button on global wealth.
It's wild, right? And get this, they predict it could add a whopping $26 trillion to global GDP by 2030.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion. So the question is, how did they even arrive at these mind-blowing numbers?
So their predictions hinge on a few key factors. One of the biggest is this idea of found time.
Found time.
Yeah, think about it. Your daily commute. Right now, it's mostly time spent stuck in traffic, right?
Yeah, wasted time.
Exactly. But imagine if your car drove itself. Suddenly, that dead time becomes productive time. You could be working, relaxing, even learning new stuff, all while your car does the driving.
It's like getting an extra hour or two added to your day.
Right. And multiply that across millions of commuters. That translates into a huge boost in productivity. More gets done. The economy grows.
Okay, so we're talking about more free time and a booming economy. This is starting to sound too good to be true.
Well, hold your horses. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some potential downsides too, and the report acknowledges that.
Okay, like what? Lay it on me.
Well, for starters, what happens to all the people whose livelihoods depend on driving? Taxi drivers, truck drivers, delivery drivers.
Right, that's a lot of jobs potentially lost.
Exactly. And it's not just drivers. What about mechanics, gas station attendants? The whole ecosystem built around traditional transportation.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of accidents, or rather the lack thereof.
Wait, are you saying fewer accidents could be a bad thing for the economy?
Think about it. Fewer accidents means fewer car repairs, fewer insurance payouts, less demand for new cars. It's a whole sector of the economy that could shrink.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It's like every action has an equal and opposite reaction, even in economics.
Precisely. But here's the thing. ARK Invest argues that even with these potential downsides, the overall pie will grow so much bigger thanks to autonomous vehicles that those losses will be more than compensated for.
So it's a trade-off. We might see some sectors shrink, but the overall economy benefits in the long run.
That's their prediction, yeah. But of course, there are other factors to consider.
Like the environment, for example.
Hmm.
More cars on the road, even if they are electric, that can't be good for the planet.
You're absolutely right. And that's another area where the report really gets interesting. They actually predict that most of these autonomous taxis, they'll be electric.
Okay, so less pollution, at least in theory, but
It's not a simple equation, right?
Right.
I mean, even if we replace all gas guzzlers with electric vehicles, where's the electricity going to come from?
good point. Are we just going to burn more coal to power our
Right.
self-driving cars? That kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Exactly. We need a massive shift to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, all that good stuff.
Which, let's be honest, is a whole other can of worms with its own set of challenges and debates.
Exactly. And on top of that, don't forget about the environmental impact of, actually producing all these electric vehicles and their batteries.
Right, mining those rare earth minerals,
Yeah.
manufacturing those batteries, it all adds up. It's like we're trying to solve one problem, but we might be creating another one in the process.
It's a complex issue, no doubt about it. But let's, for a moment, just for fun, entertain the possibility that ARK Invest, they're right.
Okay, I'm game. Humor me.
Imagine a world where autonomous vehicles, they're just normal, like as common as smartphones are today.
Okay, I'm trying. It's a little hard to wrap my head around, but go on.
So you wake up in the morning, and instead of that stressful, soul-crushing commute, your car, it whisks you to work while you're, I don't know, catching up on your sleep or finally finishing that book you started months ago.
Okay, yeah, I could get used to that.
Right. And the cities. No more traffic jams, cars zipping around perfectly in sync, communicating with each other to avoid
Wait,
collisions.
so you're saying road rage is a thing of the past?
Mm.
No more honking, no more middle finger salutes? That's a world I want to live
A world without road rage. Who wouldn't want that? But seriously, think about the impact on our cities. All that space currently wasted on parking lots,
in. Right.
it could be transformed into parks, affordable housing, whatever. Suddenly, cities are designed for people, not cars.
Okay, now that is a future I can get behind. Less concrete jungle, more green spaces. I like the sound of that.
Right.
But let's address this elephant in the room, shall we? We talked about the potential job losses, drivers being replaced. But what about the bigger picture? Automation. It's not just about cars, right? What happens to the entire workforce when machines can do so many of the jobs humans do today?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, there's no easy answer. But if we look back at history, technological revolutions, they've always been disruptive.
Right, like the Industrial Revolution.
Exactly. But they've also led to the creation of entirely new industries, new jobs that people back then couldn't even fathom.
Like who could have predicted social media managers back in the days of the steam engine?
Exactly. So there's reason to be optimistic, right? Maybe this autonomous vehicle revolution, it'll spark a similar surge in job creation.
Okay, so new jobs will emerge, but will people be equipped to fill those roles? I mean, what good is a job market full of AI programmers if no one knows how to code AI?
You're hitting the nail on the head. That's where education and, government policies, they become absolutely crucial. We need to prepare the workforce for these new opportunities, help people adapt.
So retraining programs, apprenticeships, maybe even something more radical like universal basic income.
It's going to take a multifaceted approach for sure.
It's like we're standing on the edge of this uncharted territory. A little bit exciting, a little bit terrifying, all at the same time. And that bold statement from ARK Invest, the most impactful innovation in history, it really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, and it highlights just how important it is that we have these conversations now, right? Because the future, it's not something that just happens to us. It's something we create through the choices we make today.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Economic boom, environmental question marks, the robots coming for our jobs, maybe.
All right. Right.
A lot to process. So for our listeners, what's the one thing they should take away from all this? What can they do to, I don't know, not get left behind in this autonomous future?
I think it really boils down to this: be adaptable.
Adaptable.
Yeah, focus on the things that make us uniquely human.
Okay, you're talking like creativity,
Creativity, yeah.
Right.
Problem solving, emotional intelligence.
right? The stuff AI can't do that yet.
Exactly. Those are the skills that'll be in high demand. Because think about it, machines, they might be great at repetitive tasks, crunching numbers,
Right, like robots in a factory.
but they're not so good at navigating the messiness of human interaction, right? Coming up with those out-of-the-box solutions, making judgment calls based on gut feeling or empathy.
So it's not just about learning to code or becoming a robot mechanic, which, by the way, might not be a bad career choice, but it's about honing those skills that make us human.
Exactly. Be a lifelong learner, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's not afraid of change, but actually seeks it out.
I like that. Not fearing the future, but being ready for it. Who knows, maybe this whole autonomous revolution will free us up to focus on what really matters.
Yeah,
More time for art, for relationships, for actually enjoying life.
that's an optimistic way to look at it, but I do think there's a lot of potential for positive change here. And like we were saying earlier, the future isn't set in stone. We get to shape it.
Well said. And on that note, it's time for us to park this episode, pun intended.
Of course.
But seriously, this conversation about autonomous vehicles, it's far from over. So, listeners, here's something to ponder as you go about your day. How do you see autonomous vehicles fitting into your life? Are you ready to hop in the back seat and enjoy the ride? Or do you prefer to be behind the wheel? Something to think about. And as always, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep those brains engaged, those imaginations firing, and we'll catch you next time.